Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm here today with my number one fan, my mum. Hey mum, how's it going?
Good. Very.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Having a good
So,
day.
what's that?
Having a good day.
Fantastic. That's amazing. Why do you
Like
think?
what?
Why is it so? Why is it so hard? That's a good question though. Why is it so difficult? Like it's you. You know, I have these amazing conversations with these random people who don't know me, but then and they think I'm amazing, but then your family just thinks you're a piece of crap and annoying. What are your
Oh,
thought? What are your
come
thoughts on
on.
that? What are your thoughts on that, Mum?
I'd never
Why do
think.
people think I'm? Why do your family hate you so much?
Oh, they probably just know you too well and too familiar.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So
They find, yeah, they don't realise that you've emerged into
a beautiful butterfly.
an awesome, awesome person.
Yeah. No, let's turn it down a little bit. Don't oversell me, Mum.
Come on.
No, but in all seriousness,
There should be some benefits from, from having, been a mother for so many years.
yeah, yeah.
There should,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So 2016, any New Year's resolutions?
oh, definitely. Yeah, just focusing on the positive. Just looking forward to turning 60 this year.
Oh, wow.
Yay, I've been
Holding
60,
back my
nearly been,
sarcastic, judgmental thoughts on that.
I've, I've been on the planet nearly 60 years.
So you must have some untapped wisdom that we can uncover on this conversation.
Oh, don't get me started.
You wise guru, you. No, and
Yeah,
also you do have a lot to share, and hopefully we can share that with the listeners because I think there's nothing wiser than the wise words of a mother.
mm,
Yeah,
yeah,
so the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world.
yeah. Many a time, yeah, I've had to sort of just go digging deep
Yeah.
within the confines of my mind for, you
So
know,
let's rewind a little bit. I'm thinking back in the day of. Actually, I mentioned this. I think it was. I don't know if I mentioned this in one of my episodes. No, I don't think I did. That book that we had. There was a book that you had called Turmoil in the Toy Box. That
hey,
that was
that
hilarious.
was mine.
What?
I never bought that book. That was a borrowed book I
It
should
was
have.
borrowed, but it was in our house. It was in our house. It was
So
affecting. It was affecting the psyche of our lives.
why did they even have it in the house?
Yeah, we were crazy. There was some crazy stuff that happened back in the day. I think. Where,
Yeah.
where did
Yeah.
all this? Where does it
Yeah.
begin? How do we begin to unravel the crazy?
Yeah. Especially what was that tape? Snuggles.
Snuggles. Oh, Snuggles. I was, I was playing tennis. Now I'm not a very good tennis player, but I do try hard. I could continue and quote the whole tape, but I'll save the listeners from the despair of that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I mean
Snuggles.
that was like being indoctrinated with rejection, really, wasn't it? It was just like
Yeah, yeah.
this story of this character called Snooklefry who was like just a loser. Um, so I had some pretty bright prospects in life.
Especially when you get, especially when you can, sort of, know the whole thing off by heart.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's how
It's just
that's
like,
how fun filled and social my life
oh,
was.
oh,
I used to be able to quote
oh.
the entire movie Forrest Gump for crying out loud. What
Yeah.
is going on? Um,
Such time.
so when you actually, this is a good question. I guess when you're a parent, you don't. It's like it's trial and error, right? It's not like you get a manual that gives you all the answers. So you're kind of just figuring all this shit out. So
Yeah.
where do, where do you start? Take us into the world of parenting.
You just have to. Sometimes, sometimes you have to trust your own judgment, which with some people isn't such a good
Yeah,
thing. But
it's relative. Yeah.
I must say that the way that I was, brought up, I kind of learned a few things not to do. But
Yeah. Well, those are the parts you want to edit out.
Yeah.
If only
No,
we could edit
I'm
life.
just saying the gauges that you use are different, come from different sources. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one thing I'd just like to sing your praises because one thing I've said to you a couple of times, I think, is one of the values that you instilled in us was sort of not to take sides in situations. You know, when there was like, say, in the church, there was like, not naming names, but there were like marriage breakups and stuff like that. You never took sides. You never played that game of going, oh, I have to choose which one I'm going to be friends with, sort of thing. And I think that always spoke volumes to me, you know?
Yeah,
So,
well, I mean, I actually find that quite hard case because I don't actually remember that happening. I guess it was it was just something that I did without even consciously sort of thinking about it. If you know what I mean.
oh, yeah. And it's not even something I necessarily, like, consciously valued at the time either. It's only looking back that you kind of go, oh,
Yeah,
man, like,
yeah,
that's,
yeah.
that's amazing. And I think this is kind of what I want to dive into. So this is obviously part of my Detox series, which is my YouTube kind of channel branching out. But it's interesting. I think the way we learn things is more from things that are modeled and demonstrated than just theology and doctrine. And I think that's part of what I want to kind of dive into in these kind of conversations because you
Oh,
know
definitely,
yeah,
definitely.
like growing up in this kind of religious world where you're kind of taught that it's all about believing the right thing, and there's not a huge emphasis on being a kind person. I don't know if you
Mm.
have any thoughts on that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So
I mean, I sort of think, like, um, I think if you've sort of grown up kind of with with a kind sort of nature anyway, it can sometimes just be in you, if you know what
yeah,
I mean.
yeah,
Like, and maybe it's kind of just developed a bit more, as you go become an adult. But
yeah,
I mean, I mean, I'm just thinking now that like when I was when I was growing up, even from a young age, I always wanted to be a nurse. So I think,
and you are a nurse. That's
yeah,
funny.
I know. Oh, very funny, Mark. No,
Sorry.
I'm just saying, like, when when you are a nurse, you've got that sort of caring, compassionate sort of um in you,
Yeah.
to look after people, care for people,
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
and
And
be kind. I mean, yeah,
yeah,
I'm just saying that a lot of that sort of stems
yeah.
from
And it's
your
funny too when I think
nature
about
anyway.
the memories of growing up and being in the church and stuff like that because I have much more memory of, and maybe this is just because it's food related, but much more fond memories of like after church services, just enjoying your home cooked baking and conversations and interacting more than just sitting there listening to a sermon.
Oh, right.
you know
Is that? Oh, you're not talking about the soup.
Oh, not the soup. No, 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 not the soup. No. For the listeners, my mum is a prolific soup connoisseur. I think she's probably made every soup on the planet at least once.
I don't know quite about that. Yeah, but anyway, pumpkin soup is the favourite.
Well, you didn't you convert Andrew to pumpkin soup?
Oh no, yeah, we came around for lunch. Yeah, one time after church, and the very thing he hated we had on the menu was pumpkin soup. Yeah, I think
Good
I think
times, good
there's some
times.
history there from from his
Yeah,
home life.
yeah, yeah. It's funny. I guess we could take this conversation in so many directions, really. I'm sort of curious because you didn't grow up like strictly speaking, you didn't grow up in a Christian family, did you? Like you became a Christian later in life, didn't you?
Yeah, although when I was younger, I remember we went to Sunday school.
Oh,
Had
you.
to wear gloves, we just wore, we had these little white gloves and hat and trotted along to Sunday school. But and then when I was in college, I suppose I joined Bible class,
Yeah, yeah,
and I was in the choir
Oh, nice.
at the
Singing to
church
the
choir.
choir.
Yeah, and yeah, and then it wasn't wasn't till sort of later on
Yeah.
that I was converted.
Converted. It's like upgraded. Upgraded to Christianity.
I became a real Christian.
Yeah, yeah. Well, not by my not by my judgments at some points in the conversations, but not when I was all fundamental and black and white. I remember it's quite sad
Oh
to think
yes.
about now. I guess we can laugh about it now because it's so long ago. But
Mm.
being back in my street preaching days, I remember kind of basically insinuating that no, mum, you were not a real Christian. Like you are now, but you weren't then. And I was like, why was I? Well, that's
And
kind of on a serious note. I think that's kind of part of
yeah,
what I'd like to dive into a little bit because I'm like, where does that come from? Like this, this kind of like this religion that starts off being about compassion and kindness, kind of has a way of turning us into absolute jerks at times.
yeah. Well, you can just be so influenced and yeah, just immersed in all what the messages that you hear. I must
Yeah,
say, yeah, you just said. I mean, I talking about that situation. I think you kind of accused me of did I actually care about the lost?
well, that was a huge. Well, that was my shtick back then, I guess. you know, I was all
You,
about. I mean,
I,
I've said this. I think other places. I used to, I remember, meeting up with like Emily Peake and a few other people back in the day, and I was like, basically bailing them up and like guilt tripping them because they weren't out telling people about
yeah,
Jesus.
yeah, yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
like, what
Oh,
is going on? Where does that come from? It's
yeah,
crazy.
Harley Donovan, I think, was another one I recall.
Oh, what was he doing?
You were basically having a go at him. I think.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I
crazy.
just thought I'd add that to the mix.
Keep
You
me
ended
on the
up
ground, Mum. Keep me
you
grounded. Keep me grounded.
ended up making me feel like a worm.
Well, that's the thing. Well, we talked to, I talked to Reba Riley about that actually. She sort of had that description of this theology that we're just a worm on the bottom of God's shoe, sort of thing. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and again, I think I've said this for a long time. You're like, you can only give what you have. You can't give what you
Yeah,
don't have. And I think, how shitty and bad must I have been feeling to put that onto other people. I mean, I still think I'm not 100% there on the whole self-esteem scale. I guess being honest, but
mm,
how low must I have been in that place to
mm.
try to bring others down to that level?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, yeah. Well, I know just how much of an influence you had on me with what you sort of said, but that's I mean I don't need to go any further with
Yeah,
that.
we can edit that. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm just yeah.
Oh
Well,
no, look, this is absolutely fine to talk about because it's the truth, and I again, like, I want
you
to
don't want
have
to ruin your image.
a what? Sorry.
You don't want to ruin your image.
Oh, look, I've ruined my image a long time ago. Um, I look, quite honestly, I don't want to hide anything. I mean, I've been open about my mental health issues on my podcast. I did a whole episode on mental health.
Mm,
There's nothing
mm.
to hide. It's yeah, I think it's important to talk about these things, and this is the whole point. And I mean, I'm not sure when I'll put this. If we do end up putting this episode out, who knows? Who knows? If you're listening to this, then we did. Um, um, but like I'm happy to get your voice on the table because you do have a lot to say, even if you don't feel like it, and it's important because this is, I mean, even sort of in the church world, it really is a man's world, and theologically speaking, most theology is kind of modern theology is it's very male orientated, and it's
Mm.
authoritarian. It's about dictating the rules, and I think we've lost. And I talked again to Shane Hips a little bit about that. About he talks about the whole the medium is the message kind of thing, where when technology changes, when people, like, when the church shifted from like stained glass windows to like writing things down, it actually changes in your brain the way you receive the messages. And like, he was basically saying, well, if I can sum it up, essentially that images are kind of tapped into the feminine side of your brain, whereas text is masculine sort of thing, or logical, like it's that, not male female, but like that side of your brain, and you actually take in the information in a different way. And I think, I think there's something. I think there is a movement happening towards, again, like the likes of Kathy Escobar or Reba Riley, or these kind of female voices that are emerging, that have been lost and need to be reclaimed. And I think that's important. So I don't know what your thought. I know you've listened to some of those conversations. I don't know if you have any kind of thoughts on that from your perspective.
Well, I haven't actually listened to much of it anyway, but I guess
what, you don't listen. Sorry, what, you don't listen to my podcast religiously? Mum, I give you gold. I give you gold.
You what?
I give you gold.
You give me gold.
You give me nothing.
Okay, this is a payback. No, just kidding. No, I was actually sort of thinking, as much as I do want to, hear what these people have to say, I kind of just wanted to sort of go on my own journey. If that makes sense. Like I didn't want to sort of, I don't know, just listen to ideas from someone and maybe that might help me, or like whatever. I don't know. I just kind of would rather have just just discovered things for myself. And
no, that's important. I think that's a great point, actually. That you don't want, nobody wants to just be handed the answers.
No.
Well, to be honest, I think a lot of people do, actually, now that I think about it. Because I think that's why mainstream religion is as popular as it is, because some people do just want to go along to a church once a week and have all the answers given to them. So, I mean, obviously, I'm thinking it's funny, just, I don't know how to kind of frame the whole conversation, but, obviously you sent James and I to, a private Christian school and stuff like that, and that was, like, a fair chunk of money to do that. So, obviously, there was a time where that was a valuable thing to do, and I know we always kind of, made fun of you for that. But then, I don't know, where do we go from here? I mean, things change, obviously, and this is something...
Yeah.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Sometimes I wonder what was my actual reasoning for doing that, and I just remember, like somebody saying, you can't wrap your kids up in cotton wool, which I understand, but...
you can't send them to Bethel.
I just remember thinking, I'm bringing these boys up on my own, and anything that's going to be helpful is, like, that's what I was kind of looking for, the angle I was looking from, rather than, this is a Christian school and they need to be in a Christian environment, if that makes sense.
Indoctrinate the shit out of my children, please.
That was my main kind of reason for doing that. Like,
no reaction.
I was laughing at me.
I was laughing at the fact you didn't laugh at what I said.
Oh.
But this is as I say, this is what keeps me grounded. But so that was fun. I mean, it's fun times.
Obviously, it was a priority. For me, I mean, I influenced a few other people to send their children there, as you know.
Yeah. Now my mind's just kind of going back to, like, just random memories of, like, going to church and just different things. It's so funny, like, growing up in the church world. I'd like to give people a window into that, because it's not until you look back that you go, some of this stuff was so weird. Like, people just, like, wow, not to... I guess my first memory is, like, maybe not just you, I guess, but people, who would just burst out in song in the middle of a church service and stuff like that.
Oh, come on!
I just, like,
There was oh,
Keith was Keith Woodison.
don't name names, Matt.
I'll bleep it out.
How many? I think I was a very unique individual. Like
That's a good way of saying it.
I can't recall anyone else doing that.
Unique. We'll call it unique.
One time I started singing a song and had to, hit the wrong key and talking to myself, saying,
You just corrected yourself.
I just remember Catherine reminding me of that, like.
Okay, sorry to take the focus off you. I'm just thinking now of that service
Like,
we had.
I think she was. I think she was most impressed with me.
Now I'm just thinking of that church service at the Rosetown when that guy, the whole "I want the cross," and
It was up at Carmo.
was it Carmo? Oh,
Yeah,
was it? Oh, no, it was something similar. Oh, yeah, you're right. And
You'd gone to a prayer meeting in the morning and you came back and said, "Oh, yeah,
I'll take the cross." I don't even know if it's worth explaining the context of that. It was just, it's like these declarations that you just say things, and actually, no, the thing at Rosetown I was thinking was Glenn,
yes.
when he swam across the table. It was like,
Oh,
it was
no.
some big declaration where you had to like go up the front and then just run to the back or something, and he like tripped over this table and he started like, instead of coming off it and just walking away, he tried to like swim over it.
Oh, yeah, you have some interesting memories.
Oh, good gracious!
This is gonna make people want to go to church.
Yeah, church. It's for everyone.
Yeah, get the real thing.
Yeah, well, this is a thing, and I think Brian McLaren in one of his books, he says, you can tell the strength of a religion by its ability to laugh at itself.
Yeah.
You can't take yourself too seriously, and honestly, like we could talk
No,
for days. We could talk for days about some of the funny things that happened. We could sidetrack into the story of running the car into the back of the garage at out in Pukeatua. Should we enlighten the listeners on that story, Mum? So Mum used to work. I'm going to tell this story. So Mum used to work night shift, and what's that?
I have to interject if you get any facts wrong.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get them pretty right. I trust my memory. So Mum used to work night shifts at a hospital for older people, and she'd stayed up all night working, and she'd gone to bed in the morning for the day, and we had a white Mitsubishi Lancer, and it was an automatic, right? And for some reason, I wanted to move it out of the garage for some reason, and I started
Play darts.
What's that?
You wanted to play darts?
Something like that. Really? Maybe. Because I'm such a darts fan. So yeah, I rolled the car back, and the door was open a little bit, and it got caught on the side of the garage, and I freaked out, and so I was like, "Mum!" And so Mum was in this like unconscious.
Somebody help me!
Somebody help me! Send help! It's terrible. It's like an acronym for shit. I learned that somewhere. So I was like just screaming out, and so Mum was in this like unconscious stupor, and just comes out and just jumps in the car, turns it on, drives forward through the back, well not through, but into the back of the garage, like smashed our bikes, threw the car into reverse, smashed out. It was like a double garage. He smashed out in the gap between the two doors, and then drove forward through a fence, and then back through a fence again. And to top it off, you went like Fred Flintstone style, trying to stop the car with your foot. And I think, oh my goodness, it was like unreal to watch. I think I went into like a hyper state, panicking. Andrew Veal was about to punch me in the face because I wouldn't shut up.
Andrew thought I'd lost the plot. Like,
oh man, we didn't know what to do. It was unreal.
he thought I was just really angry, like,
Yeah. He just like lost his shit.
and in the corner of the door, like,
Oh no,
bottom
she's
chair.
completely lost it. We used to
It
take that car. Man, we were naughty. Man,
ended up,
Christian kids are so naughty. Let's talk about that. We drove your car without a license around the block, around Hazelmere.
oh, that was when I was in in Sydney.
Oh my goodness, what were we thinking?
Yeah,
I
because,
think
you
we
know,
remember ducking past Judy. We drove past Judy. We're like, oh no, if Judy sees us, the world's gonna know.
who was driving?
Andrew had a drive, I had a drive. It was like a go-kart. We treated it like a go-kart. It's unreal.
Yeah,
So much for Christian schooling.
because like when we came back from holiday, you know, like you know that couple that I got taken to Sydney, Tom and Chris Collins, like he said, somebody's driven this car, somebody's damaged it underneath, and I was like thinking to myself, no, nobody's
Yeah,
driven
and
it.
then didn't they buy it off you for like $500?
Oh, he got another crap car for him. Oh, like I can't remember. It was
Oh yeah, we kind of downgraded. It was still white. It was a white car, but it was slightly different year.
a waste
It was
of
maybe
money.
a 1970 instead of a 1990.
Yeah. Oh, that is
Oh,
terrible.
good
Like,
times.
but I mean, I must have just had such a trust and and belief that no, nobody's driven it.
So
Like,
naive.
yeah,
So yeah, those were some good times.
yeah.
There was the sleeping in the what do you call it? The water tank
Oh,
in the backyard. That was
oh
fun.
yeah. That water tank got from the
When Jason
top.
was a dog in Foot Flats.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
And, and sleeping in the hall cupboard.
That was controversial too, wasn't it? That was scandalous. Because didn't he have to swear in that? Didn't he say like "God damn" or something?
Who?
Jason, wasn't there like a swear word in that play?
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember
Cripe.
that.
Wasn't it Cripes or something?
I can't remember that
Oh
one.
no, it was a huge. It was like
But I remember,
it was a
I remember
scandal.
certain church members worried about Jason being in the show, you know, because it was sort of like,
It was a
oh,
bit lusty.
yeah.
Oh, now let's talk about Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Let's talk about that. Oh my goodness. How can you, yeah, what do they say? How can you watch a movie like that and then get up and worship Jesus? It's unbelievable.
How can you worship lead after watching a movie like that?
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. Oh my goodness.
I mean, but what was with Lee ringing the pastor's wife?
Yeah, I know. This is like, see, it's funny now because in the modern world, and I've talked about this on some of the episodes of like Milo Yiannopoulos and stuff like that, with these social justice warriors, that's what they call them. And it's
Yeah,
like, we were the original, like, Christians were the original social justice warriors. We're like policing language, telling people what they can and can't watch. Like, that's what, it's funny because that's what these liberals on the left are doing now, who are so-called free from religion. It's like,
yeah.
we were acting like this 20 years ago.
What about that production, The Champion, and somebody
Oh,
got offended because
Carmen the
a
Champion.
cast member said a swear word or something, and it wasn't even a.
Yeah. Oh man, swearing is so taboo in the church. It's so funny. I remember being at Bethel actually, and someone swore. They said the word shitty, and I was like, I spelled it out. I spelled it out to a teacher. I was like, he said shitty. I was like,
as
you
opposed,
dick.
as opposed to saying it, you mean?
Yeah.
Like as if it's okay to spell it, but it's not okay to actually say it. Oh
Yeah,
my god!
yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
Protect your children from the dirty words.
What was James saying about some? Oh, they were banned from saying the word flagon or something.
Flagon. He can't say flagon. Oh, so weird. So weird. Or doll. When The Simpsons was huge when we were at school, and everyone was just saying doll all the time. And it was like, you can't say that. So we're banning it.
Oh, that was so
Oh, it's
funny.
unreal. It's so crazy. So kind
You
of,
know, you know, like to sort of say words that could mean Jesus or Christ or.
Oh gosh, I remember we did a whole thing about oh my gosh. It's like the same thing. It's just like a derivative. Ugh. So where do we, like, it's funny looking back because we can just laugh at these things, but it's like, is there anything redeemable? Can we redeem anything? Oh man.
No.
Redeeming the time because the days are crazy and weird. Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Because, I guess.
I mean, I don't know.
I guess, a huge part of my podcasting and these conversations that I'm having is kind of, I guess it's therapy for me in a way. It's like, kind of working out all this craziness. And it's funny when you grow up in this world because you're not...
I hope you're not trying to make any sense of it all.
No, not at all. But it's funny when you grow up in this world because it is like a bubble. And, when you grow up going to church all your life and all your friends are Christian and all the music you listen to is Christian and it's funny. I mean, this was actually a serious point that, I'm just dropping names of all these interviews so people can go and listen to them. But, Jennifer Knapp said to me about growing up as a Christian artist, she just said, I got so tired of having to frame everything through Jesus, like she goes, I just needed a minute to like just be human. And she goes, I basically stopped giving a shit.
Yeah.
It's like when you go into she said, you walk into this room and you're expected to be this person that you'll never be, kind of thing. And again, I think this is, a serious point, I guess, to make is when you grow up in this kind of church world, a huge chunk of it is about morality, right? It's like getting it right.
Yeah.
And, the whole sin word, don't sin. And it creates a lot of phoniness because you are so disconnected. And I get frustrated to no end. There's a guy on the internet that I connect with sometimes. He's a nice guy. He's amazing. He's a real friendly guy, but he's really fundamental and really dogmatic. And I'm just like, it's like looking into a mirror of the past and going, oh my goodness, I used to be that person, Yeah. I'm just like, man, I wanted to punch myself in the face. Oh my goodness. But it's funny, and I think, joking aside, I think a lot of this stuff is redeemable because, one, you can laugh at it and you can look back and go, hey, I'm still here, I survived,
Yeah.
And I think there are millions of people around the world that are kind of having these church burnout experiences where you just, I don't know how much you want to say. It's up to you. I don't really care. But, I know you've kind of been through this place of, or this phase of kind of just being over it and just like, oh, I'm done. I'm sick of this, So.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any kind of thoughts on that.
Well, just for me at this point in time, the idea of going to church every Sunday just is not appealing at all.
Yeah. It's like church on Sunday or a fork in the eye.
Walk over some hot coals.
Yeah.
It's different. Yeah. It's just really, I don't know. It's just quite bizarre that you could go from being in a place where you wouldn't even dream of not going to church on a Sunday.
And it's like, what do people do on a Sunday?
You'd go twice in a day.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I never used to know what people did on Sundays. It's like, if you don't go to church, what do you do?
And, it's just really weird because, just even sort of the idea of, having this proud thought that, my sons have never sort of said, I don't want to go to church. I never made them go. I never said you had to go to church, but it was sort of like this unspoken sort of expectation anyway. Like you probably wouldn't have dared to, what the hell would you have done in it? I'm
going to have to beep out so much of this podcast.
Hey?
I'm going to have to beep out so many things in this podcast.
Oh, yeah. Bleep.
No. The whole premise of this Detox thing is no restrictions, no taboo subjects, and no language police.
Yeah. I'm just thinking now, maybe one of you might have thought, oh, I don't really want to go to church, but what else am I going to do?
Well, I don't ever. It's funny. I don't ever remember feeling like that. It's like, and again, I've talked about this a few times. Is that I never questioned any of this stuff growing up, and that's kind of the scary thing to me looking back, because it took for me trauma. It took a complete breakdown for me to go, what am I doing with all this stuff? Like, what is this all about? And
I mean, the whole thing was just a way of life.
yeah,
For us to, up and move to a completely different town where the only people I knew were the people involved in the church. Leaving my whole family behind, just up and move. I mean, that was a huge kind of undertaking. Like,
yeah.
I'm saying, like, and I had to pinch myself when I was actually moved up there. I thought
You had to pinch yourself. Did you do it? You're like, why'd you do that? And you're like, I just had to.
No, it's just just saying, like, did I really do that? Did I just leave all my family behind, move to a town where I only know the people that go to the church because of the church?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was a huge decision,
Oh, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
And I do think that somehow I was kind of looking for, because I remember the thing that appealed to me when we went there on holiday was that this church felt like a family. They just felt so, I don't know, just everybody felt so caring towards each other, and it was just like one big family. And I just kind of reflect now and think, well, what was I looking for? Was I looking to sort of fit into a family kind of environment or situation, that was going to be filling a need for me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just thinking that now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, to make a point from my own experience in relation to that, I think when I went through a lot of these transitions of changing the way I saw my theology and beliefs, and the way I changed, how I saw the world, essentially, it is almost like being told you don't belong in this family anymore. That's what it feels like. And I think that's those are the kind of people I want to be speaking to and connecting with, is those that have been sort of kicked to the edges and told, we don't ask those questions here, or you don't belong here anymore, or and it is a very subtle thing, and it's not like, I didn't get any official letter from the church in the mail saying you're unorthodox or anything like that. But it's almost like this shift that happens in conversations where people stop talking deep with you. They just keep to the surface, and they're like, hey Mark, how you doing? Oh, good, moving on.
Yeah.
So I think,
because that's a threat to, I think sometimes it's a threat to them, that you would dare to sort of kind of think differently.
Yeah, well, I think there's two major things at stake. I think nobody likes being told they're wrong, first of all. And when it comes to religion, you've got the whole heaven-hell paradigm to deal with, and nobody wants to get that wrong, So I think so those two things combined, I think, is like a perfect storm for some of the stuff that happens. So yeah, and I think, I mean, I know that you're still on a bit of a journey figuring stuff out and kind of going, oh, what's going on? Where am I? And, I think it's important. I think that most people, I think there's a lot of people out there who kind of stuff down the questions and go, oh, like, I'll just move on and keep going. And some people keep going to church, and even though they're struggling. And, I know, I'm thinking of, talking to the likes of Gus Rowe, who kind of 8 years ago just kind of dropped off the radar, and he was someone who was prominent in leadership in these ministries and things like that, and just kind of going, oh, I'm done, I'm just burnt out. And, I actually talked to him yesterday about doing coming on to a series like this, and he's kind of like, well, part of my detox is just not talking about it anymore at all. And I was like, fair enough.
Yeah.
You know.
And I mean, I sort of feel like everyone's at a different place in their journey, and it looks different for each person. You know, like there's no set sort of formula. I mean, I'm still kind of, you know, digesting I don't know, just getting used to the idea that, you know, these people that I kind of like put on a pedestal or looked up to, you know, aren't in my life anymore, and I'm just feeling a freedom to kind of be the person I want to be, like not just to fit in and conform to what people want me to do or think or...
I might have to play the whole "Girls Just Want to Have Fun" song in the background here.
yeah, that's funny.
I don't know if there's any copyright issues with that.
My
But
theme song.
yeah.
I mean, you know, it's just like, it's just kind of like, to me, I just keep getting, I mean, I just thinking the word simplify, you know, like I feel like I want to, you know, my life is, it's simplified now. Like all I want to, you know, all I want to do is just be myself, make a difference to other people, you know, just enjoy other people.
Yeah.
Just appreciate people and do whatever comes naturally to you. Like, you know how I was talking to you about the whole hospitality thing. I just enjoy that side of things.
I think you're bringing up a point that's actually more profound than you might realize, because I think it's quite, I don't know how I can best say this, but I think it's almost like this religion that's meant to make us more compassionate and kind gets in the way of compassion and kindness. You know? And it's funny, I'm thinking of that TV show that Ricky Gervais did, that whole Derek kind of thing, and there was a line where his character basically goes, he's talking about the whole existence of God, and he goes, I've met people that do believe in God that's kind, and I've met people that don't believe in God that's kind, so just be kind, you know?
Yeah.
And it's funny. I think there is something in that, and I think people are tired of being told that religion has a monopoly on kindness and a monopoly on truth, and you know, there's more going on, it seems, than that. And
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, and I think some people just want to sit back, and I think people don't want to challenge the status quo, because, and this is something I think I've kind of alluded to before, where it's like if you believe that you're in the in-group, you don't have much motivation to challenge yourself. It's like if you believe you're safe, you're saved, you're marked for heaven, you know, you really are not motivated to kind of challenge that idea at all. So I think that's probably good. Oh no, go ahead.
I mean, you know how we've sort of talked about, you know, in the past, I don't know, just the fact that our house was an open house. Like if someone had needed someone to stay, you know, we'd just take people in. Like, I mean, that, you know, that's quite a challenge in itself. Like, you know, when you're just taking in people that you hardly know, and just, I don't know, that was just how it was. And but, I mean, that was sort of like separate aside from the church situation, you know, the people in the church. Like that was something like that we just did on our own. Like, it wasn't,
well, that's the thing as well, and I think it's probably a good place to wrap up, because I think some of the most profound memories of kindness and compassion that were illustrated to me were completely outside of the context of religion anyway. So, well, thanks so much, Mum, for this enlightening and funny roller coaster of a conversation.
Very interesting.
I think this is going to be gold for people to listen to. So, yeah. Who knows, you might be back by popular demand one day.
Right. Okay.
God,
Yes, hope I get a second call.
Yeah. We'll be in touch.